So I think a big part of what this committee's done is now put together everything we talked about and put that into a communications policy manual. I'd like to have Chief Smith talk about any of the other things in that policy that we haven't addressed yet today.
Sure. So two specific policies that are in the manual that we didn't get into any detail today. They are the general procedures policy, which is the first one you'll find in the document, and then the standard terminology, which is the second one. So the standard terminology is I think we've done a pretty in-depth job trying to capture as much as we can there. And again, that's, moving forward, we really want that to be, these are the words, phrases that are being used, and we're trying to eliminate, the slang. Speaking for LCWC, they have newer dispatchers, they have dispatchers who aren't involved in the emergency services outside of being a dispatcher. So sometimes there's things that can be confusing to them. There's also things, quite honestly, that can be confusing depending on the area that you're from. So we've tried to capture what we think are the appropriate terms and phrases, and we've put them in the policy, and so strongly encourage everyone to look over that and try to focus on using those. And as I said, the general procedures, the very first policy in the document, there is a lot of good information in there. Please take the time, read through that, understand what's trying to be communicated and accomplished with this entire document. So, with that, then just a couple of reminders. You'll see a lot throughout all of these policies in this document. Emphasis on use of the webcat, as we've talked about in some of the other parts of this presentation. We're trying to be technology forward. We have this system. The webcat can do a lot of stuff. It can really help us to alleviate some of the congestion on the radio. So please try to become a user of the webcat. Also, trying to break some of the habits that have existed for literally decades. Some of it is just people who have had these habits for decades. Some of it is people who have listened to others and are emulating what they've done because that's what they heard on the radio. And so we're trying to correct some of those behaviors. Quite honestly, there's a lot of stuff that still goes back to the old low band system. Phrases like, "I'll be on scene out investigating." We used to say that because you were getting out of your car away from the mobile radio, and so you wouldn't have communication, and you wanted the dispatcher to know why you weren't answering the radio if they were trying to call you. But we're now on a county-wide system that, we have mobiles and portables, and they all, operate the same. No matter where you are in the county, anyone else in the county can hear you. So it's really just trying to move away from some of that stuff and the understanding that the technology that we have, making sure we're using it appropriately, understanding what it does and its capabilities, and just adjusting our practices and procedures accordingly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's huge for all of us in the county to understand what this committee has done together, right? It's about building that relationships amongst all of us, but also moving everything ahead, and it's really important that we're doing things to help our counterparts at LCWC. So I appreciate the work on that, standardizing the terminology. Again, the things that we talked about at previous meetings is about not doing things that's going to put a dispatcher in a predicament, right? They're trying to answer you by the terminology you're using, but they have their own standards and procedures, and also their management looking down at them. So you're really putting them in a ping pong match, right, of not knowing what they should be doing because we're not doing our part to help them out. So that's what this is about. It's about us really stepping up our game and being a good partner to LCWC. That will take us, Ann, if you want to, you got anything you want to add as we close out today?
Well, I'll talk on some of the changes that came up with our meetings with LCWC and the RAC committee. Things, again, along the same line of trying to reduce unnecessary radio traffic, what we can do to help each other. Some of the things that came up is that when we start dispatching a fire call, after the initial dispatch, when we switch to the hailing talk group, we're no longer going to include that long list of units that's already been announced on the dispatch channel. So instead, When we go to the hailing channel, we're just gonna announce municipality address and the incident type, and leave it at that. We had spoke earlier about the information available in the webcam. You have all the call information, all the call details available to you already, so we're not gonna add that additional over the air. Again, unless it's a safety concern for the responders, in which case we will make sure that that is noticed by the command officer that's responding to the call. We're not going to repeat size-up information. It was another suggestion that came out saying the command's giving that size-up. There's no need for county to just echo what they just said. I think it's been announced and heard by anybody that's already on the talk group. Also, we are going away from doing the callbacks to alarm companies. This goes back to what you mentioned earlier about having contact information. In the webcam, we are going to be entering in the comments the contact information, the phone number to the alarm company, so that if you need to check the status, the incident command can call them direct. I think that covered everything that I had than what we've already discussed.
Yeah, I guess one thing for all of us to understand is what's the training piece you have to do now with your staff?
Well, our staff, just like a lot of the fire departments out there, we have a lot of veteran employees that have been doing the same thing for decades. So it is a matter of them being educated on the changes and remembering to do the changes. So I'm sure there's going to be a learning curve on our side as well on the other side. So it's going to take them some time to adapt to these changes.
That's important for all the chiefs out there also to understand that members of the RAC committee are available to help you on your training nights. We can do that within the the zones. We can come out and do it individually, but we have a lot of people that are supportive in this process that are willing to help out if you don't understand that movement forward. We're going to close out today with any final thoughts from any of you before I do next steps. Anybody?
I guess the one thing I want to clarify with what Ann was just mentioning about the additional information. If there's units out there that are going responding and they don't have the tablets available, county's not going to give you the additional, but you can ask for it, then they will give it to you. The base is just going to be, they're figuring you can see it on a laptop or an iPad.
Right, thank you, Chief. I'm glad you clarified that. Absolutely, just because it's not something we're doing on a regular basis does not mean that the information cannot be asked for. We're absolutely going to share that information if they're asked. Another thing I'll just mention real quick, this committee, we have worked quite lengthily on dealing with some changes that the committee would like to see made with the webcam. We do have a meeting with our webcam provider, and I have all the concerns brought up by the committee and some other suggestions we have, and we are hoping that we can address that with them.
Very good, and we appreciate that. Again, it's that relationship building that is what's getting us to that table now with the conversations we're having. So, just providing some next steps on where we're at. This video will be shared with everybody through a YouTube link. You'll have about a month to review this video with members from your department. We're also going to establish with Phil on the County Fire Chief's website a question and answer form that everybody, once you submit a question, we will answer it and everybody then can see that answer. So it's really an interactive process, and we want to make this as open and transparent. We also want to make it as available as possible to everybody. And we're also then going to be playing this video at the beginning of the County Fire Chiefs meeting on December 14th. We're going to start that meeting early with dinner and also playing this video again, and then answering any questions anybody has for that evening. Again, this isn't about processes. This is LCWC processes that they're willing to have us again at the table to have these conversations at large, and it's going to be their movement forward. So we're going to be implementing these in that manner. So again, we appreciate the time that everybody here took today at this roundtable, and we look forward, obviously, for the questions that come in from the field users. So thanks, and have a great day.